as the best intro for any MLB show in the history of the world drops thanks to Guns Picks. It is a suddenly not so casual, sharp Sunday, June the 4th, 2023. MLB Live, the show, the Shark, the Gun, Sharky Waters Nation, Sports Wagering Network, 9 words of goddamn lifestyle. I am hyped up, ready to dominate. Guns Picks, what's going on this evening, morning, afternoon, wherever you are in the world? My brother, what's going on?
Man, oh man, it is a nice, cool, low 70s here in Maryland, and I'm going to be enjoying this beautiful slate of baseball today. Not much else going on in the world, but we are going to be taking over on this Sunday, and his Shark just clicked out because he's having some computer troubles this morning, so please bear with us. We've been trying to work on the technical difficulties as Shark is now back. I just was telling the people, we are ready to go. Let's get to it. Bang, bang.
First play, going to the NL East and taking the home team, the Gun. Trevor Williams and the Nats, a bye team against a Phillies team that is really sitting here, I believe, still confused off a playoff run, World Series run, still reintegrating some injured pieces into their lineup. You're buying this today on the first 5, fading Ranger Suarez. Nats first 5 plus 125 official.
As I take just a quick sip of this beautiful Viva here, the elderberry I'm going to be doing here on this Sunday. Let's talk about this game in Nats Park, Washington, D.C., 1:35 p.m. First pitch on this one, and I'm going to be taking the underdog Nationals plus 125 first 5, and this is a 2-unit banger for me. Let me tell you why. Listen, to Suarez is on the mound today, like the Shark said, 1-3 in 4 starts after 5 innings this season, giving up 4.25 runs per 5. Now he's going against Williams. Now I know Williams is susceptible to giving up the runs, but when it comes to home field pitching, he's at his best. He's 9-2 as a starter at home after 5 innings since 2022, and he's 5-1 this season, giving up 1.5 runs per 5 innings in his home starts. Now you got to look at Washington. Washington at home, been absolutely electric in the first 5 window, 11-4-3 in their last 18 home games after 5 innings. And Philly on the other side, 3-13-3 after 5 innings in their last 19 home games. So you have a pitcher that's 1-3, doesn't pitch very well in his first 4 starts of the season. You have a good home pitcher in Williams here for the Nationals, and you're getting him at value as a dog here, folks. I may be on the public dog side on this one, but I can't escape the numbers. It's okay. I love it as a 2-unit banger for a reason. Give me Washington money line, first 5 as the 2-unit banger.
Bang, bang, bang.
As the Shark just froze once again. Let's go into the next play, or at least talk to the chat. I see Pinot is in the building saying, let's fucking go. I'm with you on that one. And Michael is always joining the chat. He's been hanging around since the college basketball days. Hopefully to see you, having you a wonderful Sunday. But let's talk about the next pick that I got on the board here while the Shark reloads, re-upgrades, and redials into us as we speak. He is joined here, back in command. It looks like he's via satellite on his phone somewhere in Florida. Shark, just gave him my play on the money line, Washington money line plus 125. What's the next play?
Yeah, apologies, guys. This is the contemporary world we live in where we are dependent on technology, and then technology lets us down. It's a weird, weird paradox, I must say. But let's stay the course of action here. My first play, we're taking the over Tampa Bay at the Red Sox at 9 minus 115. I think there has been some steam on this to get this up to 9.5, but I think for good reason. If you really start to look at the pitching matchup here today, a lot of interesting stuff developing. Situational trends. Rookie pitcher for Tampa Bay, Taj Bradley, has not pitched on the road within the division this year. He has pitched 3 times on the road, all against the National League, interestingly enough, and he's pitched great in all of those. 10-0 at Cincinnati, 3-2 at the Mets, 1-0 at the Cubs most recently. This is his 2nd consecutive road start. But if you start to look at how he's pitched against the AL, it's been a completely different story. 3 separate games, Toronto, 20-1. Houston 8-3, and most importantly, against Boston at home in his first career start, a 9-7 final. And you start to look at the line for this game. Books had that game graded at open at 7.5, and it did hit 16 at 9-7. But the key point here is books are moving it up drastically. You do not see pitching matchups in the same small window in MLB where it's at 7.5 and then slightly later on 9.5. And if you look at the other side of this game, Tanner Houck last year was injured, was in the bullpen. He has not had a start against Tampa Bay in quite a while, but he is developing very, very specific trends, home and road. Houck is 4-1 to the under on the road, and he is coming in here off of 2 road starts, both unders at LA and at Arizona. But if you come to his home starts, he is 4-1 versus the over, and I think more specifically 2-0 within the division. A real high-scoring one, 9-5 against Baltimore, and another high-scoring one, 7-6 against Toronto. Tampa Bay comes in here with a great lineup. They are 1-4 versus the over in their last 5 ball games. I think you want to buy it today in a matinee. I think both pitchers will give up runs here, and this game should finish in the 11-14 range. 1 unit official, over 9. Second play for the gun, Oakland on the road. Oakland, the worst team in the sport, trending towards the worst record of all time. Paul Blackburn, his first road start of the year against ace, but skeptical ace right now, Sandy Alcantara, who has been poor at home this year. Paul Blackburn last year, uncannily, was, I believe, 8-0 or 9-0 first 5 run line as a dog on the road. This guy travels great. He's coming back off an injury. His first road start of the year. Guns picks, second official of the broadcast.
Yeah, he's come back from injury, but he was a darling, especially on his road starts, like the Shark just said. Blackburn on the mound for Oakland since 2022. Overall, he's 15-7 in first 5s, but when you actually break it down to the road start window, 12-1 in first 5s on the road, giving up 1.3 runs per 5 innings, and in those 13 road starts. But Blackburn this season, he's only had 1 start. He went up against the dreaded Atlanta Braves, and you know what he did with them at home? He only gave up 1 run per in that 5-inning window. They put up 4 in the bottom of the 5th, I believe, in that game against I think it was Sudoka, who was just coming back from injury as well. And they actually teed up on the Atlanta Braves. Now you're going against a Miami team with Alcantara, as they say, on the mound. He is 1-3 in his last 4 home starts, giving up 2.25 runs per start in that span. So you get a wishy-washy pitcher that typically has been dominant in the past, but I'm not going to trust him here, where Blackburn has not let me down, even though he hasn't had the amount of starts that any pitcher in the MLB has had this season. I'm going to trust it. I'm going to go with the trend on this one. Like I said, 12-1 in his road starts in first 5 windows, and I'm just taking a little bit of insurance on that one at a half a run at plus 114. 1 unit play for me on this one, but give me Oakland half a run plus 114 first 5.
Yeah, and as I mentioned when I introed that game, I mean, there was just uncanny stuff last year. This guy was just an absolute ace on the road outside of the division, more specifically. He was also good in the division, but outside of the division, he pitches great. So I certainly couldn't talk you off this one today. My second and third play, we are going to Queens, Citi Field, home clubhouse, and we're buying Kodai Senga at home yet again. This guy is really developing into a home ace very quickly in his rookie campaign coming over here from Japan. If you look at his home starts, 30 innings pitched, 4 earned runs, and only 14 hits. Even better outside of the division, 19 innings pitched, 6 hits, only 1 earned run. He's coming off of a handful of great starts. If you go to the other side of this game, you find a great opportunity to fade fellow Japanese pitcher Yusei Kikuchi, who is equally lackluster on the road to how good Senga is at home. Kikuchi rode very pedestrian numbers. 31 innings pitched, 37 hits, 18 earned runs. He has zigzagged on the road a little bit. I think a very, very specific start that correlates to today's start. On a Sunday afternoon, it was April 9th. he did pitch a road start at the Angels. And what people might say to me is, what do the Angels have to do with the Mets? Couple things. First off, the number was basically identical in that game. The Angels did open roughly right around minus 125 and catch sharp steam to 135. And just as importantly, in the first 5 in that game, the Angels were laying a strong 130 steamed up to 150. And what happened on that Sunday afternoon? Kikuchi was horrendous. The Angels were up 6-0 in the first 5. And they proceeded to blow the game in fashion the only Angels can do, and lost 12-11 in extra innings. I don't think the Mets are going to blow this one today. One final point here. When you start to really look at what's going on, going back to Senga, he does have one home start against this division this year. It was against the Rays. It was a contrarian number there. I had it, and they did win the game 8-7. I don't know if it's going to get that aggressive. That was a game where there were back-to-back 3-run shots for the Mets in the 9th and the 10th. I think this game could be a little bit more clean, expecting Kikuchi to give up a ton of runs early. And one final point here, Gunn. Toronto comes in here at a dub 3. Mets are on an L2. Mets yesterday were right there on the cusp, lost the game in the 9th inning. Mets are 15-11 at home, 15-18 on the road. You want to buy this team at home, and you want to fade the Jays on the road. This is an all boxes check spot. We're on it for first 5, minus 130, game minus 120, and that has caught a ton of steam overnight. Of course, I did drop these at 2 in the morning, and I think it's the exact same steam we saw on the Kikuchi road game on a Sunday afternoon at the Angels. This could be a hammer zone all day today for the Mets. 2 units official, let's dominate. Third play for the Gun. We're going to Texas, and we're looking at an under first 5, 4.5 between the Mariners and the Rangers. Guns picks, what's going on here?
Yeah, I expect a rock fight here with these two pitchers that are on the mound for Seattle and Texas. I mean, Evaldi is going to be on the mound for Texas. And if you've seen him play, he's been absolutely dominant as of late, especially in his last 5 starts. Only giving up half a run. Actually, his last 6 starts, only giving up a half a run per 5 innings in those 6 starts. And he's 9-2 in his last 11 starts after 5 innings as well. Now you got on the other side, you got Miller. Miller for Seattle has been perfectly dominant, except for he had a bad outing versus the Yankees last, giving up 8 runs. So I think there should be a bounce back spot. But keep in mind, in his last 4 starts, other than the Yankees game, he only gave up 1 run. That's it, 1 run. So it's 3 shutouts, 1 run. That's all he gave up on that one. So that's why I expect a little bit of a pitcher's duel on this side here in Texas. Now, last 5 meetings between these two teams, you also got to consider that 4 out of the last 5 have gone under the total, and that is going to keep this thing low, especially after a 10-3 game that you saw yesterday. A lot of runs, and now you're going to get the absolute rock fight that you deserve. I found a 4.5 on FanDuel this morning at minus 128, and I'm going to take it. It's only a 1 unit play for me on this one, just in case we get another banging from Miller. But I don't expect that to come out of Evaldi at all on this one. So give me the under 4.5, first 5, Seattle, Texas, 1 unit play.
Yeah. I think there's a lot going on in that game, obviously, with the rookie pitcher for Seattle, as you said, getting hammered by the Yankees in his last start. The question you ask yourself, will he bounce back, or was he too clean against some really pedestrian lineups there? The Gun on an under 4.5, first 5. My next play, Cincinnati Reds at home in the division, NL Central, playing it for 1 unit official at minus 114. A lot going on in this game as well. And when you really look at road pitcher Eric Lauer does pitch very, very similarly at venues and opponents time after time. And we say this a lot with certain pitchers. Certain guys just repeat the same effort in every single time they play an opponent. And you start to really look at Lauer this year. He did start 3-0 on the road. He was pretty effective. 19 innings pitched, 14 hits, 5 earned runs at the Cubs, at San Diego, and at Seattle. Since then, however, hammered at Colorado 7-1 and at Tampa Bay 8-4. 7 2/3 innings pitched, 6 earned runs, 10 hits, 6 walks. I think the crucial point when you start to analyze this guy, as I mentioned, when you go back to last year, he also got hammered at Colorado. He also got hammered at Tampa Bay. He was equally pedestrian at the Chicago Cubs. You look at today's matchup, how did he do last year at Cincinnati? Very poor. 6 1/3 innings pitched, 6 hits, 4 earned runs, 3 home runs against. in a 5-4 win for Milwaukee. And slightly later on in September, only 2 2/3 innings pitched, 5 hits, 3 walks, 2 earned runs. They pulled him early after 66 pitches. And the crucial point here, Milwaukee was favored in those games, -120 and -165, and they did win both. Now this flips in strength towards Cincinnati, and you look at journeyman pitcher, 31-year-old right-hander Ben Lively, only 2 home starts this campaign, did take an L versus the Yankees, pitched well though, only 2 earned runs. He is 1-0 at home in the division, 6 innings pitched, 2 earned in a 10-3 win against St. Louis. And within this division, Guns, we've talked about this before, the run differential versus records in the NL Central is pure insanity. Currently, the Milwaukee Brewers are in first place in the division at 31-27 on a -23 run differential. Look at Cincinnati. Cincinnati's 6 under at a -31. They're far worse in the standings with a very similar run differential. Cincinnati comes in here on an L3, a much better home team, number all over it, and pitching matchup all over the home pitcher, fading Eric Lauer. 1 unit official, Cincinnati -114. Guns picks, final play. We're going to the desert. Zach Gallen, North Carolina's finest, I should say, showing ace quality stuff at home this year. Strong split in the first half. Guns mentioned earlier in the broadcast he thought it was Sudoku. I think he was getting caught up in the Japanese pitchers. It is Michael Soroka, yes, and a guy who is a budding ace, 25-year-old, coming off of, I think, really intense arm surgery or something. This guy hasn't pitched in 2 years, only 1 start on the year. His second start, he does go to Arizona against Zach Gallen. Strong split first 5, Guns picks, -140, official.
Yes, I meant Soroka on that one. When I saw the name, I'm like, I think I said Sudoku, and I didn't mean to say that. My fault on all these names. Listen, I have a hard time pronouncing probably 50% of the names when it comes to the pitchers in the MLB because you're getting the Japanese defectants coming in. It's insane now, and I need to make sure that I understand all the names, all the starters, and the pronunciations. But let's talk about this game here in Arizona today. Now, Gallen, you know what Gallen is. Gallen is a pure fade on the road. But when he goes home, it's a whole different story for this guy. He's 4-1-1 in his last 6 home starts after 5 innings, giving up 0.33 runs per start. 0.33 runs per start. That means he's absolutely dominating everybody that he goes against. Also, he's only given up 2 runs in his last 6 starts. So that's where the math comes from here, folks. But actually, if you go even further back and you go to how he's done in 2022, Gallen is 11-3-6 in his last 21 home starts after 5 innings, giving up 1.2 runs per start. He is absolutely electric at home. He is a must back in the situation, especially when he's favored this much versus a awesome Atlanta Braves team. Now Soroka is on the mound. This is his second start. He's been battling injuries forever. I don't even think he played in 2022. I don't have anything on my records on that one. Maybe even going back to 2020, I remember him playing, but he's had 1 start in the past 2 seasons, and he lost that start versus Oakland. Now, as I talked about with the Oakland game before, he pitched very well in that. I'll give him that, but he kind of broke down in the 5th inning. It was more of a sloppy effort in that regard. But I still have to back Gallen at home, no matter what. He's pitched against them. He has 1 start versus Atlanta going back to last season, and he won that one 2-0, and that was on the road. So I'm going to trust him here in this spot. Can't go against Gallen at home, so I'm going to be going Arizona money line -140, first 5, 2-unit banger.
Bang, bang, bang.
Yeah, and I think this is a good look here. I think particularly if you look at that line last year on the road, he was a dog. Atlanta was laying, I believe, -120 in that game. So when it flips over to -135 roughly at open, plus the split, I always want to talk about that numerically when you cap baseball and other sports as well for people that may not be looking at the numbers and are more so just looking at Sports Center highlights, unfortunately for them. But when you look at the Arizona split here, this does open heavier in the first 5. The Braves could come back in this game, but I do think Gallen is definitely a target zone in the first 5 here from the gun. My final play, we're going to a weird tip time, or I should say first pitch time, 5:30 p.m. Eastern. I'm not entirely sure why this game is at 2:30. I haven't seen a 5:30 pitch on Sunday all year, but We're going to San Diego, and we're buying the Padres, and Ryan Weathers against Marcus Stroman. And people might say to you, Shark, are you crazy? And I was just talking about this in the group chat a little bit, and I talk about the law of averages. And oftentimes, somebody who looks to be unbeatable will quickly and imminently reverse their quality off of a couple great starts. And look no further than Marcus Stroman. Marcus Stroman is coming in here really at the peak of his quality, coming off a complete game one-hit shutout against the best team in the sport, the Tampa Bay Rays, in his most recent outing. Go back before that, equally as impressive, almost, against the Mets at home. 8 innings pitched, 4 hits, 2 earned runs. Prior to that, 6 innings pitched on the road against the Phillies, 3 hits, 1 earned run. But I've been saying this about Stroman now throughout these broadcasts and, of course, the content that I've done by myself this season. Marcus Stroman is a very intelligent person. He's a very thoughtful person. He considers environments. He feels things. He's not a robotic army type of guy. When he doesn't feel a good vibe, he will pitch very poorly. And that environment for him, more often than not, is on afternoon pitch times in weird stadiums. And look no further than a Sunday matinee in San Diego. Go back right before his previous 3 starts where he was basically unhittable. Not coincidentally, Sunday afternoon outside of the division at Minnesota on May 14th, his worst start of the year by a mile, 2 2/3 innings pitched, 7 hits, 6 earned runs in a blowout. And when you really start to look at these teams, you want to be buying San Diego. I mean, San Diego, if we really want to have a mini discussion here, this is a roster that is capable, in my opinion, of going to the World Series. This team is 4 games under 500. They've had some issues with Tatis Jr. They're trying to integrate some new parts. Xander Bogart from the Red Sox and a couple other players. And, of course, now Manny Machado is hurt. The pitching staff has been a little bit all over the place with Joey Musgrove injured for about a month and a half to open the season. This team currently sits 4 games under 500 at 27-31. This team is supposed to win roughly 95 games. And when you find a team that could legitimately go to the World Series sitting this far beneath their average, it reminds me of the Phillies last year. And it reminds me of other teams that you really want to just get behind and just pound them and not even think twice about it. And I'm not worried about a 23-year-old Ryan Weathers who's a little bit inconsistent. What I'm really focused on here is buying the San Diego Padres on what is also a very, very strong number for this team sitting 4 games under 500 with a +13 differential versus a Cubs team that does not function well on the road. The Cubs are 15-16 at the friendly confines. They are 6 under on the road, 10-16. And as I mentioned, this is just a great spot to buy Marcus Stroman. Final point in this game. Weathers has been in and out of the minor leagues. He is very young, and he's had some issues. 2 years ago, he did lay a similar figure at home against the Cubs, -115. He did win the game. His only start last year was a road start at Chicago. He didn't pitch great, but San Diego showed up for him with run support, 19-5 win. And, Guns, we talk about this all the time. Sometimes the lineups psychologically function with the pitcher, and we see this with a guy like Sandy Alcantara down in Miami. The lineup shows up, and they almost say, well, our guy's so good, we don't have to hit today. And you'll see the opposite as well, where when guys know Weathers might have a lot of guys on base and this game is going to be open, they mentally show up for the game in the clubhouse as a lineup, more focused and ready to turn up to back this guy. And I think they like him. He's a young guy, and I think they just really turn up for him. We could see a lot of runs in this game today. I think that's also a contrarian over, because I'm pretty sure a lot of people will be taking the under due to Marcus Stroman's recent success. We're on the Padres at -110, 1 unit official. I got 5 top plays. Padres, as I just mentioned. Cincinnati Reds, not Blake Lively, Ben Lively on the bump, -114. 2 units on the Mets, first 5 $1.30 and game 120. That has steamed up. That's why we bet it at 2 in the morning. And final play, we're playing an over between Taj Bradley and Tanner Hook at Fenway Park, 9-115. The gun over in Texas first 5, under Texas first 5, 4.5. Zach Gallen -140. Fading Ranger Suarez with the Washington Nationals in the first 5, +125. And another play that is eluding me right now. Guns, what's your final play?
You said Oakland half a run plus 114.
Oakland, yeah. Blackburn on the road at the aforementioned Alcantara, not getting great run support from a lineup who thinks our guy's so good, maybe we got the day off. 5 top plays, 9 words of lifestyle, ride the way we got out of the water. Guns picks, a pleasure as always. We apologize for the broadcast issues in the beginning. It's just the world we live in. Everything's plugged in here. We got full Wi-Fi and an Ethernet cord, and it's still cutting in and out. So we apologize for that. We try to bring the best energy, hype, analysis, and picks always. Beginning of the summer, I'll say this over and over and over. This is where it starts to get good. Right about this time last year, we went on a 30-unit upswing. I didn't even cap baseball in the first 2 months last year, probably for the reason of what just happened. Scatteredness, unpredictability, books not knowing numbers, and trends underdeveloped. I think we're going to really get into a great role here. And as I mentioned, love working with the gun. We will be on here next Sunday and trying to integrate more weekly broadcasts as well. Guns picks, close them out, and let's dominate.
Man, I think I'd rather have Blake Lively on the mound than Ben Lively, to be honest with you. That'd be kind of a treat there. Even if she threw underhand, I don't give a shit about that one. I just want to shout out the chat. I got Michael, Pinocchio, I think that's the name, 13, JR Black with us, S. Warrior. We appreciate you getting into the chat, and also eight of you beautiful bastards watching us live. Please like and subscribe to the Sports Wagering Network and support us. Listen, content for days that are going to be on here, including what's coming up in September is just a shitload of football. So we're going to be bringing that to you as well. And also, just want to call out that it looks like they want to get your thoughts on Game 2 here, Shark. Do you have any thoughts on Game 2 NBA, Denver versus the Miami Heat?
Yeah, I do. The line is a Denver line. It's a hook line. It's moving up in strength slightly, and I think this is what you've seen in Game 2 at home throughout the playoffs for Denver. They have covered these games, but it's been very, very tight. I'm not on it officially yet. I would not talk you onto Miami, but I do have a bit apprehension that it's going to be incredibly, incredibly tight. You guys saw Game 1. Obviously, Denver in complete control, and then melted it off in the fourth quarter significantly to only cover by 2 points. I think this game might be a little bit tighter just in general. One final point on this, and maybe I'll talk about this a little bit more on Twitter as we go into the afternoon. If you go back to the bubble finals, where I had mentioned one thing that I thought was pretty significant with the Miami Heat were 10-0 ATS in the first game of a series against the Eastern Conference in the Jimmy Butler era, which is just incredibly sustainable and impressive, but they had not covered Game 1 in the bubble. So if we allow the bubble to be our template as to how we're going to evaluate this, because they didn't cover against Denver, so the analysis did translate from bubble to NBA Finals against the West, which I think is very interesting. You say to yourself, what did they do in Game 2? And here's where it got real sticky. The books moved the line up to the Lakers in Game 2 in the bubble to minus 10, 10.5. And Miami lost the game exactly by 10 points, 124 to 114. And that's my fear tonight. I really think we're gambling on this line. I think it's a reach point. And I think if you look at some of the, as I mentioned, the Denver Game 2s in the playoffs, they have not been super convincing in Game 2. They have covered. It's barely gotten there. I can't say I'm really thrilled on flipping a coin on this line, although I do think Denver probably does cover by 1 or 2 points. But I think less convincingly from a game flow standpoint as to what we saw in Game 1, where they were in control and melted. I think this could be tighter the entire way, possession for possession, right on the number. So if you guys want to bet it, I would not talk you on to Miami, but I think you're honestly, you're better off betting things that have more access and gap versus the line.
Yeah, like the highlight playoffs or something like that, or table tennis, right? That's where you get the best lines in the world. But I want to appreciate all you guys watching. Shark, always a pleasure to work with you. And like Shark said, we're going to try to bring out as much MLB content as possible before we get to the nitty gritty of the NFL and college football. But I want to thank all you guys. Let's cash some tickets today. And as always, let's keep dancing. All right.